I was watching this podcast interview with Lex Fridman and Jeff Bezos. I found it really interesting and I figured, let me pause it and let me save it and make a video about it, reacting to the episode. And I was watching this video and today I'm gonna go over if Jeff Bezos is giving good business advice or not.
If you make the wrong decision, if it's a two-way door decision, you walk out the door, you pick a door, you walk out, you spend a little time there, it turns out to be the wrong decision, you can come back in and pick another door. Some decisions are so consequential and so important and so hard to reverse that they really are one-way door decisions.
Basically, he's saying you can make the decision and then you can change your mind. Go back to the original decision. Like, let's say it's quitting your job to do your first real estate deal or quitting your job to start a business. Unless everyone in the world depends on you and maybe if you have a wife, one kid, you have some money saved up or something. If you make the decision to quit, start your own business. Let's say you start your own business for 3 months or 6 months, it doesn't work out. You could always make the decision to go back and get a job. So there are some decisions that are not so consequential, which is what he's saying.
You're not coming back. And those decisions have to be made very deliberately, very carefully. If you can think of yet another way to analyze the decision, you should slow down and do that. So, when I was CEO of Amazon, I often found myself in the position of being the chief slowdown officer because somebody would be bringing me a one-way door decision.
What I like about this is that he's dumbing it down in the way of like, when he's brought a challenge or a problem or a decision to make in his life or in his business or as a CEO or anything, he's putting it into two categories. Is this a one-way decision or is this a two-way decision? Meaning, is this decision really big and I have to take a moment to think about this? Or do we just make a decision right now, whether it's good or bad, and keep going towards it? So it's pretty cool. I've never really heard someone say it like that. I like that because whether it's hiring your first person, whether it's making your first offer, talking to a seller.
Analyze that. So let's go do that because we are not going to be able to reverse this one easily. Maybe you can reverse it, but it's going to be very costly and very time consuming. We really have to get this one right from the beginning. And what happens, unfortunately, in companies, what can happen is that you have a one-size-fits-all decision-making process where you end up using the heavyweight process on all decisions.
For everything, yeah.
Including the lightweight ones, the two-way door decisions. Two-way door decisions should mostly be made by single individuals or by very small teams deep in the organization. And one-way door decisions are the ones that are the irreversible ones. Those are the ones that should be elevated up to the senior-most executives who should slow them down and make sure that the right thing is being done.
That's a really cool thing that Jeff said about, he basically gave advice to business owners or leaders about who should be making decisions. If it's a small decision like how many phone calls are we going to make today, what paper are we going to put in the printer, that shouldn't be made by the leader. That should be made by somebody that's deep in the organization, the admin assistant, the office manager, whomever's on the sales floor. Hey, what computers are we going to use? Hey, a lot of those decisions should not be done by the leader or the CEO. So if you're in that position, whether you're a one-man show, whether you have an assistant, whether you have a team of 100 or 1,000, this is really cool information. Like, I learned a lot from this podcast, from listening to the way that he thinks about this stuff. And a lot of it's categorizing things and then being disciplined to know, okay, this is a two-way decision. This is really not for me to make. You guys go and do that and I'll trust you. But now bring me the one-way decisions. Bring me the big ones. Like, what market are we going into? You're not going to want to miss what Jeff Bezos says of how he treats his employees as a leader.
I mean, part of the skill here is to know the difference between one-way and two-way. I think you mentioned,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned Amazon Prime, the decision to sort of create Amazon Prime as a one-way door. I mean, it's unclear if it is or not, but it probably is, and it's a really big risk to go there.
There are a bunch of decisions like that are, changing the decision is going to be very, very complicated. Some of them are technical decisions too, because some technical decisions are like quick drying cement. If you're once you make them, it gets really hard. I mean, choosing which propellants to use in a vehicle. Selecting LNG for the booster stage and selecting hydrogen for the upper stage.
What he's talking about is now Blue Origin and the rockets and the fuel. It's a little past my knowledge grade, but it's funny because I was having dinner with a friend the other day. He was saying that he wanted to buy an exotic car. He's like, oh, I've never bought an exotic car. I kind of have the money, but I'm a little scared, but I want to save my money. I'm like, look, if you're really itching to buy the car. The worst case that you could do is just sell it again. And let's say you buy it and 3 months later, you don't like it or you want the money back or whatever, just sell it. Yeah, maybe you lose 3,000, maybe you lose 5,000, maybe you lose 7,000 bucks, but well, at least you satisfied that thing. So don't let that occupy so much brain space for you. Make the decision. When Jeff Bezos makes a decision, he sticks to it. And it's crazy how he puts it together.
Decision. But if you changed your mind, that would be a very big setback. Do you see what I was saying?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of decision you scrutinize very, very carefully. Other things just aren't like that. Most decisions are not that way. Most decisions should be made by single individuals, but they need and done quickly in the full understanding that you can always change your mind.
Yeah, one of the things I really liked, perhaps it's not a two-way door decisions, is I disagree and commit phrase. So so somebody brings up an idea to you, if it's a two-way door, you state that you don't understand enough to agree, but you still back them. I mean, I'd love for you to explain it.
Disagree and commit is a really important principle that saves a lot of arguing.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to use that in my personal life. I disagree, but commit.
Like, it's very common in any endeavor in life, in business, and anybody where you have teammates.
It's real interesting because Lex Fridman and Bezos, I don't know much about Lex Fridman. I just discovered his podcast, and I know he has a huge podcast, but it seems like they have good chemistry, like the way they talk to each other.
You have a teammate, and the two of you disagree.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to make a decision. And, in companies, we tend to organize hierarchically. So there's this, whoever's the more senior person ultimately gets to make the decision. So ultimately, the CEO gets to make that decision. And the CEO may not always make the decision that they agree with. So I would be the one who would disagree and commit.
That's pretty cool. It takes a lot of humility to say that he's the one that disagrees and commits. And it's something to avoid further altercation. And it shows a lot of faith in his people, because if he's saying, hey, I disagree with you, but I'm going to commit to your decision and I'm going to back you up, then that's a really unique way to provide leadership to somebody.
I would think it was a bad idea. I would explain my point of view. They would say, Jeff, I think you're wrong, and here's why. And we would go back and forth. And I would often say, you know what? I don't think you're right, but I'm going to gamble with you. And you're closer to the ground truth than I am. I've known you for 20 years. You have great judgment. I don't know that I'm right either. Not really, not for sure. All these decisions are complicated. Let's do it your way. But at least then you've made a decision. And I'm agreeing to commit to that decision. So I'm not going to be second guessing it. I'm not going to be sniping at it. I'm not going to be saying, I told you so. I'm going to try actively to help make sure it works.
That part is key, that they're not saying, I told you so. He's not saying any of that. So overall, I think that Jeff Bezos is not only one of the most brilliant people in the world, I think that he has a very good way of articulating how to be a leader and how to make decisions and how to go through his daily life to win, whether it's Blue Origin and launching spaceships, or Amazon, or stepping away from being CEO and hiring CEOs, or even dealing with employees and calling customers. He talks about in this podcast how he called customers, how he called his own customer service hotline to see how long it was taking. So I think Jeff Bezos is an amazing example of what entrepreneurship is and what it could be. And you don't want to miss his interview, and you don't want to miss these clips. So check it out. Let me know what you think on the comments below. What do you think about Jeff Bezos? Is he evil or is he good?